Good morning and welcome to the Boonafide Experience podcast. I'm your host, Kyle. As many of you call me Boona, or on social media, Boonafide Gaming. Y'all, it's been it feels like it's been forever since we sat down and recorded another podcast. Thank you guys so much for your support. Last couple episodes, downloads for the last couple ones have been extremely off the charts. So I cannot thank you enough for the support there. Had some personal challenges. Mentally just wasn't in the right space. But you know what? We're back. We're better than ever. And for those of you who are just tuning in, first and foremost, welcome. Thanks for taking the time out of your day to even check out this podcast. This is a gaming and esports, or gaming content creation and esports podcast where I gather people from all over the industry, whether it's organization owners, competitors, content creators, coaches, shoutcasters, and I mean, just my goal is to gather everyone in the industry to bring them onto the show to share their story, to showcase that there is so many ways to be involved in the gaming community, and there's so many ways to make a living doing what you actually love. Speaking of that, our next guest, his name is Justin Havey. He is what I like to call a dinosaur in the Halo community. He is back. He was involved back with the old school Halo forums. We This podcast is mainly centered around Halo, some of the Halo 2, Halo 3, some of his career, some of his opinions, roadmap on Infinite, what our opinions are on that, what our guesstimates are on that, what 343 needs to do. So it's a very informative podcast. I had a lot of fun getting to meet someone with a completely different profession than I've ever had on the show. And guys, welcome to episode 34, and let's hop right in. Well, so Justin, man, thank you for that. I know it's been a long time coming. Our schedules have been pretty crazy this past couple months, and I mean, it's funny how when COVID happened, like I figured like I was gonna have a lot more free time, but it turns out it's been the exact opposite. Uh,
Right.
so I thanks for kind of working with me. Getting I think it was about a month out, dude. So welcome onto the podcast, man. This is an esports and gaming content creation podcast. I bring on people from all over, every area of the industry, whether it's an org owner, a player, a producer. I try to get everyone's story on here. That way, people at home and people who don't really understand the gaming industry or think that you have to be a game dev to be in the gaming industry can see that there is an opportunity for them if they really want it. So
Totally.
kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah, I mean, not going into it too far back or rambling for too long, but been playing games since, I'm the typical story. I was playing
Yeah.
Mario on N64 and, you know, um I grew up in West Virginia, southern West Virginia, the coal fields. So my upbringing was a little bit different, I think. Have two younger brothers where we grew up super tight. I think one of the reasons we grew up so close was video games.
Mm,
And I'd say that we played video games, but we were really outdoorsy. Um, so we weren't like we weren't the kids that like 10 years old we were just grinding on like a PS1 all day.
yeah.
And then the Xbox released Halo 1, and we didn't have stable internet where I grew up. It was dial up. So we didn't get an online experience for the first two Halos, but Halo changed everything for us for sure. Um, Especially my middle brother and we were old enough
Yeah.
to appreciate Halo 1. Um, Played a lot of Halo 1 like campaign. My parents were super into it. Played Halo 2, played the campaign.
That's
And
dope.
Halo 2 is when we were playing like 1v1s, like just at home,
Hmm.
split screen, cheating all day. Uh, and and three boys, young kids. The level of competitiveness was at an all-time high, so I feel for my parents. And then Halo 3 came out, and that's when I would say Halo 3 changed everything from like just my life, honestly.
Yeah.
Halo 3 probably changed my life. I would say that's a good assessment. Um, and it was from multiple kind of layers. So when Halo 3 came out and it first started, I jumped right in and realized that I could play a game competitively against someone in Europe, or I could
Yeah.
play against someone in South America or in Southeast Asia, and I was like, oh, this
Yeah.
is insane.
Kids
And I
these
think
days
that
kids, they have no idea like the concept of how incredible that actually was.
no,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is insane. And not only that, but you would lose a game, and I'm not sure if I can curse on here,
Oh, yeah, go for it, dude.
but
Oh,
people would immediately you'd get beat and shit talk. Like
Yeah.
13-year-old me with people yelling at me who were European. I was like,
Yeah.
no, let's play again. Like I'm ready to go again. And it just I was always a competitive kid, so this was like a crazy high for me. I was just like, I've got to have this competition, and it really drove me into game battles, MLG, that kind of stuff. So my first love with Halo was competitive. Halo 2 competitive from like a LAN standpoint and friends, and
Mm.
then Halo 3 from an online getting a team together. Grinded Halo 3 competitively for a while. Was always searching for that pro spot,
Yep. 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 Yep.
climbing the game battles ladder. We did really well on game battles, but never could like really secure like a big LAN win or something like
Yeah.
that to get us into a big event. Came to a bunch of events. MLG Columbus, where I'm at now, came up here and checked it out, and it was awesome. And when I started, I was probably a junior in high school when I was like, you know what? This is probably 2008, 2009. I was like, I'm not gonna be like a top tier pro Halo,
Mm. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
so what else is there? And I remember at the time I was part of a place called the Halo Forum, and at the time it was called the Halo 2 Forum. And I was on there for shits and giggles. I stayed on their off-topic section and just kind of messed around with those guys. It was debauchery. It was awful. But
Yeah.
I was just
Yep.
on there for laughs and a sense of community, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And I remember watching. I had seen montages, like I'd seen Halo 2 montages with Reed and Furion and those guys, and it was the straight ripping montage.
Mm.
And I
Yep.
remember watching it and being like, okay, this feels different to me. This feels like something like I want to make that. And that's when my focus shifted from competitive into creation. Probably 2008,
Hell yeah.
2009. Edited a montage like once a year, but was really like at that time like trying to learn to edit. And while I was trying to learn to edit, I fell in love with photography and just the whole creative scene. And then by like I had graduated high school in 2010. I went to college. I was like, maybe I don't want to do what I'm at college for right now. I was in pre-med.
Yeah.
I
Oh
was
wow.
like, you know, on a very lucrative at a private school,
Yeah. Oh
had it paid
wow.
for, and I was sitting in class and I was like, this is not it. And my parents are gonna kill me, but I think I'm gonna drop out and I think I want to go be a filmmaker. And it was all because of Halo and the editing scene
That's
and
awesome.
falling. The only reason I fell in love with editing was because of Halo. Um, and then Halo kind of showed me like, oh, I can edit. Like I have a skill here. I have a creative eye. My mom has a camera. Why can't I just do movies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that's how
Mm-hmm.
that transition kind of happened. And then I took a year off college. My parents were super cool with it. They were like, yeah, if you want to go do that, go do it. Um, and then I came back to college and decided I should get a degree in a field that I feel like I could kind of fall back on. So I
Yeah.
got a degree in advertising and graphic design, still creative. But I was like, but I'm going to pursue this, you know, film
Yeah. Yeah.
path in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
The whole time still playing Halo, still loving the game. Other games, came and went, but I'd say my passion always kind of lied within the Halo community. I tried my hardest through college to stay in touch with everyone I'd met. And then probably 2015, I fell off for a little bit because that was like my high point of like,
Got
I
it.
need to make a career decision here.
Yep.
And yeah, last couple years, I ended up, wiggling my way into the film entertainment business. So I work at a production company and animation studio here in Columbus. I've been here about going on 4 years. Um, and once I moved to Columbus and I knew I had a career, I kind of fell back in love with
With Halo.
esports and
Yeah.
gaming. So I had about a 2-year hiatus and then, wiggled my way back into this crazy little Halo community. So that's kind of the story in a very
Yeah.
truncated 5-minute version. There were a lot of peaks and valleys through that, but that's pretty much the too long didn't read version of that.
Yeah, man, and no, I appreciate that, and I'm sure there's a couple areas I wanted to explore there. I mean, and it's
Yeah.
like starting like right from the beginning, man. Like because you very similar to me, or yeah, very similar to you. Like Halo, it was a bit for a different reason, but Halo in many ways, especially CE, just was absolutely there was nothing of its kind. There's nothing even close to the game. Like it was just it was the and it's funny now that I look back, like games are built for multiplayer now. Like games were built for campaign back then. You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah.
And that is a long and treacherous and very challenging campaign. And that was the first time that I had felt that like I had found something I truly enjoyed. You know, like in it now, my family still at the same time was very against it, and but it was that one area where I felt like I could truly, you know, become my own, have a sense of community. There was so many like-minded individuals. People bought Xboxes for Halo. You know, like that, like PlayStation. Like there was not all this console wars bullshit. It was just like we loved the game. You know what I mean? Like people bought PlayStation for Metal Gear Solid, and people bought Xbox for Halo, and that's just how it was. You know.
Yeah.
And then I mean, Halo 2 came around, and just like that was the first connected online multiplayer, you know, experience. And that was just, you know, that was just the first time like, wow, like you said, like I can play as someone in Southeast Asia or Europe, like, and we can connect for someone literally millions of miles across the entire world.
Yeah.
And I think just putting that into perspective, like I want to help put that into perspective of some people, some of the younger audiences that may be watching this or listening to this, because like that was just so unheard of. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess you're probably around my age. I'm 28, you know, and so like I think we grew up in a very unique time where we had just enough technology to understand the struggle, but we were able to appreciate the boom when it happened.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So yeah, we are the exact same age. I turned 28 in 2 days.
Oh wow.
Um, so yeah, yeah, I don't think I think we could sit here all day and try to explain it. And I think anyone under the age of 23 isn't going to
Mhm.
get it.
Yeah.
And 23 might even be on that cusp of
Yeah.
like they probably still get it because I'm just thinking of my youngest brother
Mhm.
when I'm
Mm.
talking about this. But it was a even more bizarre experience for me because, like I said, I grew up in southern West Virginia coal fields. Like, it wasn't that we didn't have the money to have high speed internet when I was like 13. It's that it was not available.
Just
It
yep,
just didn't
yep,
exist.
yep.
So we were able to play on, you know, an occasion. And then, like I said, when 3 came out and we finally got high speed internet, um, it just blew my mind. It was
Yep.
one of those things where people talk about like trying to think of something that makes it like a self-driving car like Teslas, right? Or the first time you fly in an airplane, you're like, holy shit, that's the Earth.
Yeah.
I remember being like, hello? And someone else on the other end who didn't sound like me, like a Southern West Virginia kid on the other end, I was like, I've never heard that accent before. Where are you from? And they're like, I'm from Denmark. And it's like, what? What time is it there? It's 2 in the morning. It's
Yeah.
like 8:30 a.m. Like, what do you like? It was so, I don't know. It was almost like inspiring. Like you were like, oh, there's something here that's gonna connect everyone to each other, in a
Right.
different way than just being online. You can actually talk to these people. You can compete against these people. And I think that's where it came in was not
Yeah.
only can you play with people, you can compete. You can build a sense of community, and something that was huge with Halo 3 wasn't just my middle brother was very, very, very ingrained in the Forge community,
Oh, got it.
Forge
Got it.
Hub, and
Yep.
those
Yep.
guys. My brother was pretty well known in that scene and loved Forge. And from that, you had that community of people,
Yeah.
and then you had the community of people who would go and play test those maps for these people. And it was like I'd get invited from him to be like, "Hey, come test this map out for us," and then I would meet
Oh.
another 15 people I'd never met before from all around the world who had a similar interest just in Forge.
Yeah.
And you had all these little, facets of Halo 3. And it was just an unbelievable tool to build this community, I think. Like, I think Halo 2 set the groundwork for something really special, but I think Halo 3's online multiplayer, Forge, theater mode,
Yeah.
I think all of that took things to a completely different level.
Without a doubt. I mean, I'm forever gonna die on the hill of like my favorite is Halo 2, just because that was that was my game, you know. But I can't argue like facts are facts, you know what I mean? Because that was just and especially when you come to the campaign, is even down to the campaign. Like Halo 2 campaign was great. Halo 3 campaign was fucking epic. Like that
Yeah.
was like I got so many more chills in the Halo 3 campaign than the 2, but you're exactly right. Like Forge was revolutionary. Like I wasn't even involved in these communities, but the level of creativity in the sandbox that Bungie allowed for these people to have, it just
Yeah.
it was nothing had been done like that before.
Yeah, and they had these community spotlights. I remember my brother getting a map um, called Gateway, and I'll never forget this because I was so jealous. I was like, I kind of helped bring you into this Halo scene, and you're just reaping the benefits
Yep.
of. Like, I was just like, I've not made a montage that's getting the viewership that your map is getting right now. Like, it
Yep.
had like 40,000 downloads, and it was on like when you logged into Halo, you could go over to that like community
Yep.
spotlight
Yep.
thing
Yep.
they
Yep.
used to
Yep.
have, and it was there, and I was like, you have a map on the game. Like, people can download your map, and it made me so angry. But I agree. It was so revolutionary in so many ways. And I'm totally on board with anyone who wants to die on the Halo 2 hill.
Yeah.
I think Halo 2 is one of the greatest games ever created. Um, and I think back and wish that I could have had more online experience with Halo 2. Not even from an appreciation standpoint, it's just Halo 3 is my favorite game of all time because of everything it provided me.
Yep.
Um, and I will argue all day it gave me a career
Yeah.
in something that I never thought I would actually be able to attain. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think at least the first three Halos just opened up a whole new world of gaming and esports. It led the way in
It did.
so many ways from an esports perspective too. So
And
yeah,
I think, but I think we're touching on something really good here. Like Halo, I mean, I know Halo better than any other community, but it's like gaming in general, we tend to like gatekeep certain titles and gatekeep the community to like certain people where it's like, oh, you're not a real Halo fan if you're a Halo 4 fan. It's like, no, fuck
yeah,
off, dude. Like, no, like if you enjoyed just the Forge and Halo 3, you are a Halo fan. Like this is
yeah.
an inclusive community that we got. Like, I think that's one of the problems with Halo is that like there's such this split and this divide of like what's a real Halo fan and what's not.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Halo world is huge, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
and people like just outside of games, look at
Yeah.
the lore, look at
Yeah.
the books. You know what I mean? Like, there's Halo worlds that exist. I mean, it's a thing where I don't think people really understand it. It's unlike most other games because of all of that.
Yeah.
Like, there's more material out there to consume than just the games. If everything goes well, there's going to be a Halo television series that I
Yeah.
know is being filmed right now.
Yeah.
Um, and has a very exciting cast and has some very exciting producers on it. So it's like, you know, these things, think of all the live action content that they used to put out, like Forward Unto Dawn and all of
Yeah.
that was incredible.
I mean, shit, even
And it's
red
like,
versus blue, like
yeah, and you didn't even have to ever play Halo to appreciate that.
yeah.
And I agree with you. I think in that moment you can become a Halo fan. And you know, this is the age-old debate that has been going on since Halo Reach came out of, you know, fuck you if you don't like anything after if you like anything after 3.
That's right.
Um
Yep.
and it's funny because I mean, I'll die on that hill. I do think Halo 3 and Halo 2 are superior games.
I
And
do.
that's but that's personal preference, right? I mean,
Yes. Yes.
um that is an objective position that I take. But when someone comes to me and goes, "Halo 5 is better," I'm like, "I don't agree, but that's cool." Like, I'm just happy that someone's still playing the game.
Yeah.
Um because I think that's the bigger issue. Is I think that the divide is just I wouldn't say it's more harmful than good because I think it opens up a lot of really good discussions
Yeah.
and it, you know, it does provide some forum of, well, what's wrong with the game right now? Why is it in the state it's in? Because we're not Halo 3 anymore. We're not Halo 2. We're not a
No.
you know, we're not a S tier, a tier 1 esport anymore. So why? And what can they do? And you know, if that means, hey, we need mechanics from Halo 2, you know, we need mechanics from Halo Reach. That's cool. Let's argue that. But I think when we're talking about, you know, let's continue for 10 straight years arguing whether or not the newest Halo release is as good as 3. And let's not forget it's a different publisher. Like it's not even the developer is not the same anymore. It's not a Bungie game.
And it's a different time. You look at all the games that are out there. Like look at Apex, you look at Call of Duty, you look at all these things. Like games have sped up, and like from an entertainment perspective, like I used to love watching the Halo 2 and Halo 3 tournaments back in the day. That was like watching some of those old final boss clips and like watching Walshy like literally get up and spit on the faces of these other kids like on these CRT2 TVs. That is nostalgic for me, but I think one of the problems is people passing their opinions as facts. Like it's okay to have opinions. It's okay to have this, But you know what I mean? Like the game has changed, and video games in general have changed. Entertainment has changed. You know what I mean?
Suppose the attention span of your average
Ex-
15-year-old.
exactly.
Um,
The
so
Zoomers.
it's it's so funny. Yeah, I mean, evolution's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and you know what? My Apex, this latest Call of Duty, I really enjoyed those games. I'm not a Fortnite guy. I missed that boat.
I did too.
Um, I'm glad I missed that boat because
Yeah.
I look at it and I'm
Yeah.
like, what the hell is this?
Yep. Yep.
Valorant is probably my most played game right now.
Mm.
And it's a tactical shooter. It's slow, so I look at that and I go, hmm,
Hey, you
I
could.
am playing a slow burn game. Maybe slow burn can still work. But I think that's just my competitive energy because that's what I'm good at and that's what I'm used to.
Sure.
Then I go to Overwatch with my brother and I'm like, oh my god, this is sensory overload.
I get it. I get it. I
Um,
get a headache
and
watching it.
I love Overwatch, but I'm like I don't see I just don't see how this survives and Halo doesn't. And I think it's because there's just a fundamental issue with the community a little bit. I think that you're never I let me roll back a little. I think Infinite I think I think 343 has to put every egg they've ever thought about in this basket with Infinite.
Hmm.
Because I
Hmm.
do think this is the final chapter of Halo if they don't nail it.
Yep. I agree with you.
I really do. And it sucks to say that and people can disagree with that, but if you just look at it from an objective statistical standpoint, the game's been on a decline for about a decade.
Yep.
And it's something needs to be injected into its bloodstream to make it work. And so I am open to them doing whatever the hell they think they need to do to make it happen.
Hmm.
Because I want to see Halo survive. I want to see it thrive. I want to see it become an esport again, a top esport. That's my main
I want to see it
wish.
go. I want to see it at the top, almost die, and then have a second coming of it. You know what I mean? Like that's. We share the same. We share the same goal.
And there are Halo fans everywhere. There are people know Halo. I was talking to a friend about this the other day because I know Taco Bell released that promo with in conjunction with the new Xbox, and Master Chief is like the centerpiece, and everyone's making fun of it because they're like, well, it's not launching with the Xbox anymore, so
Yeah.
this is kind of a waste of money from Taco Bell. But it's like millions of people watch that, and they were like, yeah, but it's Chief. Like you put Xbox
It's
and
iconic.
Microsoft up on the board, you're going to have Master Chief's face right next to it. And it's
Exactly.
just everyone knows who he is
Right.
and everyone knows what Halo is. So I don't think Halo is dead, but I think this could be the game that kills Halo. And that's how I've been kind of describing it. I think people know of Halo. I think people are just waiting for something
New.
good out of Halo,
Yeah.
something massive out of Halo. And, I'm
I,
fingers crossed, man. I really hope they can pull it off. I have to have confidence in them. You just kind
oh
of
yeah.
have to, and
Yeah.
whether that's blind faith or not, whatever. I want it to succeed, so I want them to succeed.
Well, but it's just like putting faith in the creators that create content for the community. Like, you don't know if every creator you support is going to make it. Like, you just like you want them to make it because you believe in their work. And it's like
Yeah,
you have to have an element of that. And it's like you can't we can't like have these like absolutes where it's like we have to see this and then we'll support it. It's like no, man, like they're building something great. They're building something phenomenal, and like let's see this through and like gas them up the way they need to be, just like we gas each other up in the community. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
um
totally.
yeah, so I mean, I want to hop into some of your work. Like
Yeah,
what was your I love the banter about that. I feel like any podcast where I have someone in the Halo community, I'm like that is a necessary banter that we have to have. What was your first montage that you put out?
oh man. I mean, there were a lot of like the amount. I have more unreleased than I ever had
Okay.
released by
Okay.
far. And it's funny. I don't think I ever became known for as like the Halo montage editor. I became
Done.
known as the guy who really understood montages and like
What do you
had
mean by
a
that?
insane history and knowledge of montages and the history of montages.
Okay.
Um, I really loved the education standpoint of like how to build out an edit. And so that's where back in the day my montage reviews came in, and that was probably the thing I became most well known for in the Halo community was reviewing and critiquing montages. Um And I think because I didn't do it in like a pretentious way, it was
Mm.
just genuine like live reaction feedback, like how those channels are blowing up right now on
Well, and
YouTube.
Shyway
That
too. Like, I
you
mean,
know,
look at Shyway. He's
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, it that I was doing that in like 2009, and I think people just really appreciated that. Like, look at it, and I was honest. I was honest with them, and then as I became an editor in real life, I think people started to take what I was saying a little more. I don't want to say like blindly following what I was saying, but
yeah,
they took it with a little more, faith in what I was saying was actually true.
yeah. Well, it held more weight. It held more weight because you had yeah,
Totally, it held more weight, and I think that the words I was saying, people were like, oh, "Okay, that makes sense. I see what you're saying," um, and that's something I brought back again, just because I love doing those. The montage community is always going to be first in my heart, um, always, and it doesn't matter the game. That'll just be what esports is a close second, but the creation and montage scene is always going to be the people that I hold really close to my heart. Some of my best friends ever were made in that scene. Um, and so I really do think that most of what I'm known for is that, and it's hilarious because I grew up to be an editor and a cinematographer. So I grew up to do the thing I really didn't become known for in Halo. Um, but I would say my first montage was definitely a Halo 3 edit. And it was definitely just my brothers and I's game footage shot on a camera. Didn't even have a capture card.
yep, yep.
Shot it on like my parents' like Sony HDV Handycam or something, and then somehow got that into Windows Movie Maker and cut it. Uh, and then I remember my second one was called. It was my brothers. My first probably 10 were just my brothers and I. And I remember when I got the Dazzle capture card, I was like, "It's over. This is this
yeah,
is.
yeah.
I'm gonna quit everything I'm doing and just make montages." But I'd say I made a handful of those with my brothers. And then I made one for a guy named Straight Donkey. Um, and that was up for about a year and it was received pretty well. And then he like kind of dipped out of the gaming scene, and people do this, and he just didn't want any trace of his existence online.
Got it.
And so that went with him. The trailer still lives somewhere. I saw it pop up like probably 2 or 3 years ago. So it still exists somewhere. And then a couple of small Halo 3 projects, and then probably the last one I cut back in the day was called Outlaws, and it was for the an editing contest. Um, I'm working on two right now. I'm working on one for Marksman and one for. I'm actually not supposed to say who the other person is.
That's okay.
He would murder me. Actually, I almost said it.
Go for it. No, you're good. You're good.
But there's other content happening right now, and then the other thing that I've been teasing for months that I've been working on with a group of some of the most talented people I know on the planet. I can't give too many details on here, but
Yeah,
it's something I've wanted to do since I was probably 15. I am lucky enough to be in a life standpoint, financial standpoint, job standpoint where I can pull the trigger on this. It's probably the biggest leap I've ever taken on anything in my life, and it does revolve around esports and gaming. And Halo is going to be a center point for it. I am putting some eggs in the Halo basket.
yeah.
Um, and so hopefully within the next like 2 weeks, we're going to be releasing what that project actually is. But I can't say a major point of that project is creators, streamers, um, leveraging those people within the Halo community who I respect so much, because I'm with you. I think that, creators are, I think creators are the backbone of any community now, today.
Yeah.
Because if the creators stop creating, no one's going to get eyes on any content. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that we're really focusing on creators and that type of thing. So little bit of spoil there, but I can't drop too much info just because I feel like I would get absolutely killed if I said more than that. But just know that I'm really excited for it. More information to come soon on that. And it's without question the biggest thing I've ever done within the gaming scene. Um,
That's awesome, man.
so really excited for that. And yeah, it is definitely Halo related too.
I was like, you gotta throw us a little bit of a bone here.
Yeah, it's Halo related.
Awesome, man.
So yeah, I mean, outside of that, I think that people right now, I think from a creation standpoint, I think people are really trying to just get their content out, and I do feel like there's some stifling in the community of that.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I think just like the Halo 3 versus New Age Halo debate, there's same things happening in the content scene as well.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, now, but the some of the cool news that came just a few days, or I think it was yesterday or a couple days ago, was Frosty coming back from the COD scene.
Amazing.
Yeah, I mean, to tell you the truth, man, like the amount of times he was streaming Halo 5 like during the COD off season, like there's no way he's not. Like he's not a COD kid. Like he went, he competed, he cashed out, you know what I mean? Like he did his thing.
One, two. That's what's crazy is he's a multi-game champion. It's
Yeah.
just unreal to me.
Well, that's so what shot that's well, was he a champion in I'm talking Frosty, not Shotzi.
Oh, Frosty.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Frosty's back in the Halo community, but
Yeah, he's back on Sentinels. Is
mhm.
that right?
Yep.
Yeah,
The old Talk Squad.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
So he, I think he is like prodigy level Halo player. Like
100%.
I really do.
100%.
I think that squad's just insane.
Yeah.
I appreciate Sentinels, so that's a point that you know I would love to make is I'm glad to see some of these bigger orgs still putting some backing
Mhm.
into Halo. And I think when Infinite really does get a release date, I think you're going to see more big orgs. I really do think you're going to see big orgs come to the forefront. I think Esports Engine is going to have a lot to do with that.
I
I know,
Yeah.
I know they're cashing. They're putting their eggs in the Halo basket, and they want to help promote and hold events. So I think with the old guard of MLG mixed with Microsoft just dumping so much money into Halo, you're going to see some big orgs at least test the water of
Yeah.
Halo esports and competitive. And I think him coming back is a huge testament to that
I
for
think so
sure.
too because like to me Sentinels have to, like this is my complete speculation. There's no actual facts to back this up. It's like if Frosty was to if now that Frosty's back on the Sentinels, like there's no way the Sentinels don't have some intel on Halo Infinite. Like
I
there's
would
no
think
way,
they have to. I would think.
like there's no way he would
Intel.
sign.
Sorry, go ahead.
There's no way he would sign if it was just like, yeah, we don't kind of know what's going on and it may be in February, it may be. There's no way that there's no information. Like there is some shit that's known.
Yeah, I mean there has to be, right?
Yeah.
I think. I think all the big orgs know. I think
Yeah.
every big org, or at least the shareholders of these
Yeah.
orgs, were informed by Microsoft. Like, hey, here's our, you know, 3 month, 6 month, 1 year plan.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can work with this right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I think having like I think you're exactly nailing the head. Like having the old MLG Adam A at the head of Esports Engine, like that I didn't even know, to tell you the truth. Like I was one of those Halo fans that just like played the game, and I wasn't really involved in the community until just a couple years ago. So
Mm-hmm.
I actually didn't know about Adam until I listened to him on Hex's podcast. And I'm like, holy shit, this guy. And then like months after that, it was like, yeah, we're partnering with Halo. I'm like, it's a fucking rap, dude.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, I think just that backing is so huge, and
Yeah.
their belief in 343 and Microsoft and Halo as a game and as a viable esports huge.
Hmm. Yeah, because it hasn't been for the longest time. So that's it's just fantastic. So and then you look at things like Snipe Down moving to TSM. You know,
Huge.
that's that's massive. He's blown up in the Apex scene. Like you just got to wonder, like, okay, how long is Snipe Down gonna come back to Halo, or has he like paved his own path in Apex? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting because you have, you know, Halo has produced some megastars. I would argue they produced the biggest megastar ever in gaming.
Yeah.
But I don't think they've produced the megastars today like other
Yeah.
games have. And I think we have our handful of people, and it's such a shame because I think that Walshy, Roy, Lunchbox, all
Mm-hmm.
of those guys, Pistola, have star potential, and they were stars back in the old days. But the
Mm-hmm.
star level, stardom now, like recognizable on the street, star level,
Yeah.
probably not. You'd have to be a hardcore fan to know them.
Yeah.
Um, but then you have people like Snipe Down, and yeah, I don't know. I think that you get to a certain point in your career where it's like, what seems more lucrative to you?
Yeah.
From a legacy and financial standpoint. It's like, I'd say TSM probably gave him a pretty lofty contract.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for him, dude. I mean, I'm pumped for him. Anytime I see a Halo, anyone in the Halo scene move on to quote unquote bigger and better things, I'm like, dude, that's so badass to see.
Well, yeah, and everyone's got to eat, and it's like at the same time, it's like they're an esports competitor. They're not a Halo competitor. Like if you
Right.
when you open the doors from Halo to esports in general, like that opens up the opportunity field tenfold. You know, like
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's a much different world when Halo was just like the dominant tier one esport. Like now you have like 200, 300, $400,000 like contracts. It's just
Mhm.
like that's just fucking insane, man.
Yeah.
You know, so to see Rona do that, I mean, you know, it's funny. I always like when I see an opportunity, I took a picture with him when I was at South by Southwest, and I was on the Lux Gaming content creation team at the time, and so I had my Lux jersey on and took a picture with Snipe Down just to make it annoying enough to where he could remember me. Oh, but yeah, man. So you mentioned your the main game you play is Valorant right now. You know, so is
Yeah.
that like are you mainly just streaming that? Are you producing content for it? Like what are you doing in Valorant right now?
I think it's my release right now. I
Got it.
think it's my competitive release. I was streaming Valorant a lot.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, I haven't really had the time to stream as much because, to your point, I think COVID has maybe made my job more intense. Like
Yeah.
my 9 to 5 maybe isn't always 9 to 5 now.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
and so with that mixed with I do some freelance work mixed with this huge project we've been working on, streaming's kind of taken a back seat. I'd say
Got it.
creation in general is kind of taken a back seat. Trying to stay on the social media grind, which is always just insanity to me. I'm just like, God, I didn't post. I gotta get a let me do a poll or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just like exhausting after a while. I'm like, Jesus, man. Kudos to everyone who can grind it so heavily, plus balance everything else in life. I think that's the
Yeah.
big thing. Like if I was lucky enough to just I say lucky enough, but I love my job to just grind Halo content streaming. Yeah, it wouldn't be as big of a deal. But then you mix that in with like your 9 to 5 and other side projects you do in life and family and foster dog. It's like, oh,
Hmm.
this is legit. Oh, it's 11 p.m.
Yeah.
I need to go to sleep. Like I didn't do anything today. Um, but I would say Valorant is my competitive release because I've been playing Master Chief Collection. That's my nostalgia kick.
Yeah.
Like and from there I do agree with people. Like when I'm playing Halo 3 competitively, it feels good. I feel good. I'm like I'm ripping. And then I'm like this isn't getting me like amped. My
Yeah.
my adrenaline's not up. I'm just
Yeah.
having fun and I've got a big smile on my face the whole time I'm playing because I'm playing Halo 3 in 2020. I'm playing Halo 2 in 2020.
On a PC.
And yeah, it's like that's awesome. And then Valorant just gets me my blood going a little bit. So I'd say it's my like competitive game release right now, which I've noticed since about 2007 I've always had to have one.
Yeah.
For a while it was Overwatch, for a while it was Apex. The battle royale stuff really doesn't do it for me. Apex did for a little bit.
Interesting.
I thought it was an interesting take on BRs
Yeah.
enough that I was like, okay, like I can strategy my way through these wins, and it's not just gun skill.
Yeah.
And then I think Valorant's strategy aspect is what it kind of reminds me of Halo. Like it wasn't just gun skill in Halo; it was so much more than that.
Hmm.
It was deconstructing the game. It was a little bit of
Yeah.
psychology. It was map control and understanding callouts and all of that. And I think Valorant takes that, then takes a little bit of Overwatch's ability element
Yeah.
and just kind of flips everything on its head. So yeah, I'd say it's more of a competitive outlet than it is anything else right now.
Got it, man. And I know you had a actually where I found you was on one of the podcasts where you had Muggsy on. You know,
Yeah.
so are you still producing for the podcast, or was that? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, the podcast is it's one of those things where it's like, yes, the podcast is going to happen. The montage reviews are still going to happen. They're being lumped into this bigger project.
Got it.
Um,
Got it.
so if people want to try to deconstruct what that means, they can. There's going to be a bunch of content being created, hopefully beginning of December. Um, Lots of content is going to be created. The podcast is part of that. montage reviews. I'm going to get back a stream schedule, but right now I'm working towards the goal of just getting what I'm talking about out there to people. And
Yeah.
then hopefully everything comes back. But I love doing the podcast. I thought that
Oh,
was really fun. I thought he was a great first guest. Super happy that he was cool with coming on. I've known him forever.
that's awesome.
Um,
Yeah.
Forever. Like a lot of these guys, I hit them up and they're like, "Hey man, I haven't talked to you in 9 years." It's like, "Yeah, what's up, dude? How you been?" Um, but yeah, podcasts are definitely going to happen again. I think just need some time for them.
Yeah. No, it's cool, man. Because I was actually, I'd seen him around the community, but that was the first time I'd actually heard a little bit of his story, and then I saw some of the
Sure.
post production he did with Shyway, when they were like breaking down like Ryan Noob's clips. And I can't remember the very first one they did was like that. The production level of that was just phenomenal. I'm like,
Yeah,
I don't know how much that cost, how much time went into that, but that is what Halo needed. I'm like, that was a breath of fresh air.
I completely agree. And I told him that I was like, those are the things that I think the Halo community needs. It's great for user creation. Like
Yeah.
you're creating this podcast, or if I want to do a montage, or if someone else wants to do a breakdown of a trailer, but like the team within HCS and the team behind Halo, they need to be pumping out some content too.
Yeah. Yep.
Because
Yep.
more eyes are going to be on the content they pump out. They have a wider reach than we do as creators, at least a lot of us.
Yeah.
And it's like when you pump out really, really, really crisp and clean, beautifully done. I mean,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
series is really, really well done. And Muggsy is a legend, so I don't really expect much less. I mean,
Yeah.
that is what he does. Yeah, I think they need to be doing that more often. And I say that, and he's going to roll his eyes and be like, "Dude, that took me 2 months." But
I saw
I
his
think
tweet
that's
on
what
that.
we need.
I saw his tweet on that. He's like, damn it, man. Like I this was such a masterpiece, but I hate that I put this much into it because now I have to get better from that. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
because that was absolutely incredible.
yeah, it's
So
great.
so,
Yeah,
but I mean, kind of want to wrap things up, man. Like you
yeah,
you you mentioned a little bit about like where you're going. I know you got some things in the work. The part of it is compiling a lot of community content, working with probably some pretty big players, if I imagine. Rolling out the podcast, rolling out some streams, man. Like, where are where are you the most active, and where can people find you?
yeah. I would say right now it's currently Twitter.
Twitter.
If you have any interest in what I'm doing moving forward, it would be Twitter. That's where we're gonna really hit the ground running on what we're working on. Um, Hopefully big players. I mean, there's a lot of conversations going on around the community right now about what we're doing, so hopefully we can really secure some of that. And our goal with this is just to prop up the Halo community. I mean that's first and foremost what I want to do. Whether we spread out to other games or not, I'm not sure, but Halo's what got me here. So I want to get back a little bit, and I want to be able to provide something to creators, because I think there are some crazy talented creators in the Halo scene that are vastly underviewed,
Mm-hmm.
and underappreciated. But yeah, Twitter. All of my social handles are HAV3Y. Um, and then I think I've got my YouTube linked up to my Twitter, so you can find my YouTube there. My Twitch is so I want Havey across the board. So anyone, I will pay you. I will pay legitimate money. Like I will pay. My Instagram account and the Twitter account are both inactive. They haven't been active since for like 6 years.
Oh
Twitter
wow.
won't give them to me. Okay, Instagram won't give it to me. The only social channel I've ever been able to get my name is on Twitch, which is great. Which is just Havey. It's my last name. Please, someone, I'm begging you, if someone watches this, get me those handles. I've been doing this campaign for like 6 years. All I need is a blue check mark, and then they'll probably give it to me. So, someone get me a check mark, or someone buy those names. I will give you money
Bro.
because I need those names.
Hey, I may do a little paid advertisement on this podcast, see if we can get your name out there.
I
Awesome.
appreciate you, dude.
What, bro? I'm gonna call you by Havey. Havey, it was a pleasure having you on here, man. Thanks again so
Awesome.
much for your time. And we'll go ahead and sign off, man.
Awesome. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Have a great day.
You too.